Upbeat, mysterious music starts and fades into the background. Imagine a city paved with gold, houses shimmering under the sun, statues gleaming with impossible wealth, even the street dogs wearing solid gold collars. Sounds like a fantasy, right? Well, that's because it was. Welcome, everyone, to the incredible, unbelievable, and ultimately imaginary story of El Dorado, the greatest wild goose chase in the history of the Americas. Our story begins in the 16th century. The Spanish conquistadors had already carved a path of conquest across South America, but their thirst for treasure was far from quenched. They were obsessed with gold, and this obsession made them, well, a little gullible. One day they heard a story from an indigenous person. It was about a Muisca tribal chief, a gilded man who would cover his entire body in gold dust, and then dive into a sacred lake, Lake Guatavita, as an offering to the gods. Now, a reasonable person might hear this and think, wow, what a fascinating religious ceremony. But the conquistadors heard something completely different. Their greed-fueled imaginations went into overdrive. The story twisted and grew with every retelling. A golden man became a golden king. A golden king became a golden city. And a golden city? You guessed it. A golden empire. The rumor mill was working overtime, and soon all of Europe was buzzing with tales of a lost city of unimaginable wealth hidden deep in the jungles of the New World. The spoiler, of course, is that there was no golden city. But who needs facts when you've got gold fever? This golden delusion triggered a mad rush. Hundreds, then thousands, of European adventurers packed their bags and set sail, each one more certain than the last that they would be the one to find El Dorado. It was like the world's most dangerous lottery, and everyone wanted a ticket. First up in our Hall of Fame, or perhaps Hall of Failure, is Gonzalo Jimenez de Quesada. In 1537, he marched into the highlands of modern-day Colombia with a force of 800 men, convinced El Dorado was just over the next hill. After a brutal journey through treacherous mountains and dense jungles, he returned with only 200 survivors. He found no city of gold, no golden king, nothing. But hey, on the bright side, he did found the city of Bogota. So, not a total loss. I guess that's what you call a consolation prize in the 16th century. Next, we have Francisco de Orellana, another hopeful explorer who joined an expedition in 1541. His group believed El Dorado was hidden in the heart of the Amazon rainforest. What could possibly go wrong? As it turns out, a lot. Orellana and his men faced starvation, relentless mosquito attacks, and constant danger. They got hopelessly lost, separated from their main party, and were forced to build their own boats to navigate the winding river system. He never found a speck of El Dorado. What he did find, completely by accident, was the Amazon River, which he followed all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. So, he set out looking for a mythical city of gold and ended up mapping one of the world's greatest rivers. He came back with malaria, incredible stories, and zero treasure. A classic case of task failed successfully. But the Spanish weren't the only ones bitten by the gold bug. The English wanted in on the action too. Enter Sir Walter Raleigh, the famous courtier and explorer. In the late 16th century, he led 2 expeditions to what is now Venezuela, convinced that the Golden Empire, which he called Manoa, was located there. He searched and searched, but found nothing. Zilch. Not a single golden cobblestone. But Raleigh was a showman. He returned to England and wrote a book called The Discovery of Guyana, filled with wildly exaggerated tales of a land overflowing with gold and precious stones. He basically wrote the first fantasy blockbuster. His stories got Queen Elizabeth I excited, but his failure to actually produce any gold eventually led to his downfall. After another failed expedition and some political maneuvering, this legendary adventurer ended up losing his head. A grim reminder that chasing fantasies can have very real consequences. El Dorado. 1. Explorers. Zero. As the centuries rolled on, and with no golden city in sight, the explorers started to think, wait a minute, what about that lake, the one from the original story? Their focus shifted from finding a city to plundering Lake Guatavita itself. If the king was throwing gold in there, it must be full of treasure, right? It was like a divine piggy bank just waiting to be smashed open. So they tried. Oh, how they tried. In the 1580s, an entrepreneur named Antonio de Sepulveda came up with a brilliant plan: drain the entire lake. He had workers cut a massive notch into the rim of the crater to let the water out. The water level dropped significantly, exposing the muddy lake bed. They dug through the muck and mire, frantically searching for the lost Muisca treasure. And what did they find after all that effort? A few small gold artifacts. Trinkets, really. We're talking items the size of a paperclip, certainly not the vast fortune they had dreamed of. The project was an economic disaster, and Sepulveda died in poverty. So what was the truth? The original story was, in fact, real. The Muisca people did perform this ceremony. Their leader, covered in gold dust, would make offerings of gold and emeralds into the lake. But it was a spiritual ritual, a sacred act of renewal and balance with the gods. It was never about hoarding wealth. The Europeans, blinded by their own culture of materialism, just couldn't comprehend it. They saw a sacred offering and thought, aha, a hidden vault. In the end, El Dorado was never a place you could find on a map. It was an idea, a collective delusion fueled by greed and a profound cultural misunderstanding. The city of gold never existed, but the desperate, obsessive search for it had a massive impact. It drove explorers into uncharted territories, leading to the discovery of rivers, the founding of cities, and the complete redrawing of the map of South America. It was the most influential myth of the continent. All of this chaos, this adventure, this tragedy, all because a Muisca chief decided to take a ceremonial spa day with some gold dust. The moral of the story? Be careful what you wish for, and maybe don't believe every story you hear about a city made of gold. Sometimes the real treasure is the journey, even if it only gets you mosquito bites and a mountain of debt. El Dorado remains history's most sought-after treasure and humanity's greatest, most dazzling piece of bait. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the heart of a myth, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more historical deep dives, and ring that notification bell. Let me know in the comments what other historical mysteries you'd like me to cover. See you in the next video.